We're talking with Gregory Zarian today here on Soap Opera Network. Gregory, how are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you very much. So you were mentioned earlier that you celebrated your 1 year anniversary of your Emmy nomination. How does
Uh,
that feel to know that you were nominated for
yesterday
an Emmy
was what yesterday was the year that it came out that I was nominated for a Daytime Emmy for one of the best stories, one of the best love stories ever told, Venice the series.
Award?
And
Yes.
yeah, it was my first nomination. And because I love Crystal Chappelle and I love the story that she told, and I love the message and the mission of everything Venice the series, I'm still pinching myself a year later to be nominated for her show, Outstanding Supporting Actor in a Digital Drama Series. And I now get to spend time with you. Like we were at this party a year ago, and thank you for having me back.
Well, welcome back. Thank you for coming back. So, speaking of Venice, the
Sure.
series was one of the original digital drama series. Now, digital drama has really blown up. In fact, they changed the category for that for digital dramas. Now they're limited dramas,
Yeah.
competing against the likes of daytime soaps, General Hospital, Days of Our Lives, Bold and Beautiful, and The Young and the Restless in specific categories for craft services. Um, to see the shows evolve to where they have become today, did you ever think that would happen?
I didn't. A lot of people, it's kind of like when people used to watch network TV and then they would say, well, are you going to look at something on cable? Cable. Why would I look at something? Okay, well, cable is now the juggernaut of everything we watch. Now it's hand holding
Yeah.
everything we watch because we can watch everything on our computers, on our phones, on our laptops, on our devices. So I figured it was just, I think everybody assumed it probably was just going to be a matter of time. And now everybody can pick up their phone and watch their favorite show. And the fact that digital dramas 10 years later, happy anniversary, Crystal, with that, because she was one of the first ones out there, is getting the respect it so deserves. I'm proud to be part of the storytelling. I'm proud to be part of the platform. And I think it's only going to go further and farther. And bottom line, it's storytelling. And we all want to feel good. We all want to be entertained. And if this is the one of the ways that we get entertained, hats off, and I'm proud to be part of it.
Awesome. So, speaking of the new platforms, we have different streaming services now. We have Peacock, we have Disney Plus. Of course, Netflix is one of the granddaddies of this industry. I spoke with Ken Corday recently about soap operas probably evolving into the digital age as far as streaming. And he thinks that streaming is the future as well, and that maybe the next decade or so, that most shows might even be available on streaming services. So, to see television evolve from radio, or I should say shows, like for instance, Guiding Light, to evolve from radio to television. Unfortunately, Guiding Light is no longer with us, but the genre itself, soap opera specifically, has really transitioned from different mediums, but they're still here several decades later.
Uh,
Not many genres can say the same. So, what is it about the soap industry that really keeps you integrated with the people involved? Why, like, what is it? The family connections that we create? Is it the fans? What is it about daytime or the soap industry that really resonates with you as well as with fans alike, and where we feel like it's its own its own thing? It's not even just a genre. It's like, if you come in, we're gonna embrace you, but just know that we're gonna love you.
okay, that's okay. You and I are hugging so much right now. No, it is because you get it, and I think the soap fans are the best fans. I don't, my stint on General Hospital wasn't the biggest stint, and to this day, the fans are loyal. They are diehard. They are true. And as you were saying, Guiding Light and One Life to Live. Crystal, who was on One Life to Live, uh, took the idea of her story and brought it here to create Venice series. And when you become so invested in a character, you then become invested in the actor and the performer. You want to find out what they're doing and where they go. And because I feel that, again, Venice, uh, was one of the first of this kind. Uh, you just want to follow your friends to where they are,
Yeah.
and it's such good storytelling, such good writing. And one thing that I'm really proud of is to be part of the soap world, because we are the hardest working people that are finally getting their, their shout out. You show up to a set, you have 5, 10, 20, 30, 40 pages a day. I just got off a really great movie, and I worked 3 days last week, and they were 18-hour days, but I didn't have 30 pages. You know what I'm saying? We are given a day to create these great moments. In soap opera, you are given a day to tell 3 days of work.
Right.
So I think the fans, and I think, hats off to Ken Corday. He is a pioneer, and hats off to everybody in the soap world that is aligning it to take a little bit of a pivot to follow the theme of where everything's going, but also know, you know what, I have amazing actors and I'm telling great story. And, Days of Our Lives, 2 more years.
Yes.
Somebody's doing something right. And I think it's only going to grow from there. And we are going to be given more options to tell some really great stories. I'm working with some people now to tell new stories. And
Awesome.
a lot of it is from the soap world. And, the soap fans, I feel, are finally spreading out. And people that really never watch soap operas are seeing what everybody has been talking about,
Right.
And it's a thrill. It's a thrill. I'm grateful. As I posted today, to be part of this platform, I'm so proud. So I hope everybody at least gives it a shot, because it's pretty phenomenal to be part of this platform in this venue, and to be included at the party.
Speaking of soap operas, I couldn't help when I watched your movie, 86 Melrose Avenue, where the different plot points among the characters. Now, I know there was a umbrella storyline, which is the characters were being held hostage by a person who had committed a very heinous crime. But at the same time, the little stories that you got from each character, their backgrounds, between flashbacks, between their interactions, I wanted more. And that's really what a soap opera is supposed to be about. Wanting more, wanting to see what's going to happen next. Unfortunately, the film is only about an hour and a half long. But what can you tell us about the film, how you got involved, and a little bit more about your character, Avi?
The movie's called 86 Melrose Avenue. It is, the premise is an ex-Marine storms an art gallery exhibit, and he takes all 10 patrons, and even including the owners of the art gallery, hostage, and he is suffering from a PTSD break. The movie deals really heavily on mental illness, PTSD, and it really addresses, as you said, the little plots that we each deal with. It takes you on a journey with every character. It lets you acknowledge where they are, where they've been, what they are wrestling with, the story they're hanging on to, and hopefully where they may go.
Travis, please stop! Oh my God.
Everybody on the ground! Now! Everybody just do what I say, and no one gets hurt.
My name is Mike Gallagher, Los Angeles Police Department. The gallery is completely surrounded. So how can I help?
Travis is a war hero, a Marine who served his country with the utmost courage.
I served in Afghanistan, in Iraq.
You have no idea all the things I've seen.
We can still walk out of here. Look, you're not a killer. You haven't hurt any of us.
We don't have money. I mean, we have a few bucks here and there.
Dad, I'm not joining the IDF. I'm not killing people for land.
Please, stop that noise.
The doctor said there'd be good days and bad days.
Sorry.
Have you ever sacrificed everything for your country?
I work hard, everything I had.
How's your anxiety?
Worse. I can't sleep at night and I can't concentrate during the day.
Everybody up!
You don't have to do this.
understand how you feel. We're a lot alike. I lived it in Lebanon for many years. If you can look within yourself and capture that moment of the person that you were once and hold on to it, I promise you, you can feel peace again.
I play a gentleman named Avi Shaheen, and he's the child of an immigrant. I'm the child of immigrants. I related to Avi because my father came to this country wanting me to live my life a certain way. Avi's father wanted his life to live a certain way. And when I was in my early 20s, I said to my dad, hey, Dad, you know what? After my days of Elijah run came to a drastic halt. I said to my father, I've been scattered to model in Europe. What do you think? And he said, well, you can do one of two things. You can stay in my house and get your degree, or you can pack up your life and go live a pipe dream. Packed up my life, lived a pipe. And, you know, it was the best gift he ever gave me. I called him a few weeks later and I said, Pop, I have no money. What do I do? And I'm living in Milan, Italy. He said, Gregory, and everything was, and this is what I love because my father loves his children. He said, you can do one of two things. You can cash in your ticket, come home and go back to school and get a job, or you can get a job. And I said, so that means you're not going to send any cash? And he said, no. And he ended it with, I love you. And it was one of the toughest gifts because I'm in a foreign country. You know, at least if I was, you know, in a country where I understand the language, it's different. Right. For me to survive in different European countries for a couple years off my father saying, I think it's time you become a man. And if you're going to make a choice, make a choice. The best gift he ever gave me. And it was amazing. And that's how I connect with Avi. It's not what Dad wanted. It's what he wanted to do. And he grapples with that relationship. And I feel the evolution of Avi as a child to a teen to who he is in this movie is so palpable. And one thing I want to say, because you asked about, I worked with the writer-director LILI MATTA years ago on another film in a very small part. She offered me the part. It is the part of an Israeli. And at the time that we were talking about it, I believe that when an actor takes on an accent, if it's not authentic and you aren't living in that, it should be given to somebody that can really make it about the storytelling, not about whether or not the accent comes in and out. She was so committed to my input and my heart behind Avi. At one moment, we got a moment that said that Avi in the script lives in the United States from the age of 5. So he learned proper English, and the way to respect the culture is, I think you noticed throughout the movie, I add Israeli inflection because I feel it's authentic. Right. It's one of my greatest jobs because the stuff that we did in the art gallery was shot chronologically. In comes an ex-Marine with a gun and we don't know what's happening. So from the joy of seeing this beautiful artwork to crawling on the floor, and I'm not going to give anything away, to where we end up. Right. People have said to me that they were nervous, were scared, made new decisions after the movie. They were cheering for us, they were crying for us, and they immediately thought, what can I do to help people that are suffering from mental illness and PTSD? Yeah. So it's storytelling for me at its finest. You know, what's interesting is at the time of year we were in, this is the time of discussing mental health, mental illness, especially with what's going on in many parts of the world, not necessarily with the pandemic, but the after effects of the pandemic. I know here in New York, there's been a lot of violence with people pushing people onto the train tracks, people getting stabbed, you know, just even getting knocked over the head just on the street. And the first thing they say is mental health, but we don't necessarily know what those individual circumstances are. But if it is the mental health situation, there's a lot of people who need help, but they're not getting it. And unfortunately, that's what we're dealing with in the world today. So hopefully we can put a spotlight on that, and hopefully we can, you know,
not necessarily solve world peace overnight, essentially, but hopefully eventually people can start getting the help and get better, healthy, not just physically, but also definitely mentally. Um, One thing that I will say about your character, there was this one scene where he was holding his hands up, and I guess he was walking towards um, the bad guy.
Travis.
Yes, Travis. And I was like, I don't know if I would have the guts to do that because first of all, I'm not sure it was a character trait or it was part of the something you just happened to do, or maybe the camera work caught you in that position. But you had your hands up and then you turned slightly around, and I was like, "What are you doing?" The guy is just standing there with a gun in his hand, and I was like, "Thank God he didn't turn around at that time because I don't know what would have happened in that scene because as you're walking, you're not necessarily seeing what is going on the opposite side of you." And so I was like, thank God that didn't happen. And the film does have a couple of violent scenes, but thankfully nothing too crazy.
Sure.
But going back to your character, the Israeli background, timing is everything. And it's interesting with what's going on in the world right now between Israel and Palestine. Now, I found it very interesting that your character, I believe Nadia is who Avi really connected with. And you couldn't help but mention several times about how your neighbors, Avi is neighbors with Nadia. And it took me a bit to get it because I was trying to get a sense of all the characters because it's really something that you do when you're watching something that's, fresh. And then I really get it from a real life perspective. Like I got it in the film through watching the entire thing, but now seeing what's going on in the world today, I get it what that meant when you were saying your neighbors, because
Sure.
you need to see each other, whether you're not enemies. Unfortunately, the backgrounds are, but that doesn't mean you have to be. So with authenticity, how did that resonate with you when it came to the character interactions with their
So I
background?
love that you addressed that. First of all, let me say this about the moment that you're speaking of, and I don't want to give anything away. We are all taught or shared what a man or a woman or a human being looks like.
Right.
If you're this, if you're this, if you're this, and I don't want to give anything away in the movie. My father was very much a gentleman. My brothers and I were brought up a gentleman. Avi, everything in his life came crashing down on him at that one moment when he stepped forward. And in regards to what you are saying for having that one moment, it didn't matter who his neighbor was or who the color, the race, the size, it didn't matter. What his mission was to take a stand and say, I got you. And I feel throughout this past year, because as we talked last year, COVID's been a global car crash. I suffer from PTSD from it. I still walk around people. Whether or not you've been vaccinated or not, it's a new way of living until we find a new way of being in this new normal. We're all surviving to some way. So what that means to me is being a bit kinder, having a little more empathy, asking a lot more questions, checking in. How are you? What's going on? With what we're dealing with right now and anti-Semitism and everything that's going on in the world, if we just don't ask questions, there's something wrong. Like, help me understand. You and I spoke a year ago. Tell me about you. I'm going to tell you about me. And together, wow, I just learned something.
Right.
And I am not in this lifetime for me. I'm in this lifetime for us, and I am part of the us. And the beautiful part, the way LILI, writer direct, she's Lebanese. So she's told me war-torn stories. My mom was born in Berlin, Germany. So I had friends that knew that I was German and they were Jewish, and they ended the friendship. We're like, we didn't know you were German. Wait a minute, you don't know my story. You don't know the fact that my grandfather told the Nazis to kiss his butt, lived underground with my mom and my grandmother. You don't know the story that my mom was on a passenger train at the age of 4, thrown off the train in Berlin, Germany, in Poland, coming back. You don't know that my mom watched my grandmother being beaten because they opposed everything that was Nazi. Until you know, you don't know. So we are given this amazing moment in time to ask questions, to check in and go, hey, help me understand. You know, last year we were talking about, with all due respect, Black Lives Matter. It's a year ago tomorrow that George Floyd, unfortunately, lost his life to police violence.
Right.
If we don't look at everything that we're going through and ask all these questions, then we're obviously doing something wrong. I want to be in the inquiry. I want to ask questions. Yesterday it was this, today it's this, tomorrow it's going to be that. And how great that we are given an opportunity to say, hey, help me understand. And I want to say that Lily's mission in this movie is to say, help me understand. What's going on? What can I do? Oh my God, I didn't get that. What do you mean you're not? Why doesn't Israel and Lebanese people cultures like each other? Wait, let me do some research. Let me see what that is. So I know that was a long answer, but I'm so passionate about asking you, how are you? And if somebody walks away from this movie asking questions, and if any, bottom line is, let's talk about gun reform. Let's talk about gun violence. Over 100 people are killed every day in this country because of a gun. Over 230 are injured or wounded. And one of the soaring statistics that I came across was over 58% of all women that have been in a relationship and have been injured due to a domestic dispute involves a gun.
Wow.
Come on, people.
Yeah.
I'm 1, 2, 3, 4. We turn into just individuals, to communities, to cultures, to states, to a nation that needs to just talk and ask.
Yes.
So sorry.
No, it's fine. A conversation is something that people do not necessarily want to have these days. We were talking about, the difference of technology and how we, use our cell phones to watch TV shows, but even still we use it to communicate. Like, you don't necessarily hear someone calling someone on the phone. You text. And I know there's now a new feature where people can actually like voice chat and stuff, but that's not necessarily widely used by young people. But at the same time, that communication is really important, because if you can't communicate by letting people know and what you're thinking, what you're going through, by expressing yourself, text messages won't come across that way. Because many times we say, if you're writing in capital letters, you're yelling. You're probably not. You're probably just trying to get a message out without even thinking about it, but you happen to click on your caps lock and you might be saying, I need help, but they're not taking it that way because they're just reading words. So what I can say about this movie, watching it, if I were watching it just as a journalist, I wouldn't have really understood what's going on, because I'm looking for things that I can
Sure.
think about. But I watched as a viewer. I try to watch movies regardless of whether I'm reviewing it for any work related matters. I try to watch it like a regular person watching a film. And I have to say, there were various scenes where I got emotional. And I never really had said that before, because I never used to get emotional in movies, but maybe I'm getting a little older and more into my feelings. But there were scenes where certain characters would do certain things, like, why would you do that? As I said about your character. And then other times there were characters that did things that you're like, I don't know if I could see myself doing that, and being able to walk away from it at the same time, as well as, I'm glad you did that. I wish I was there to do it too, kind of thing. So the fact that this movie really resonates where I felt as if I was there, I hope others feel the same when they get to watch it as well. So beyond the film, what can you tell us is going on in the life of Gregory? Acting, personally, professionally, whichever category you want to choose.
I just want to say thank you for that, and I appreciate you being so open to finding things within the movie that made you stop and think and go, wow. Then we all did something right. One thing that I do want to say is you said something about picking up a phone, calling somebody. Because of Venice series, I'm now in cahoots with an amazing organization called Free to Love. And we just did something a few days ago, and it just said, hey, it's Mental Health Awareness Month, May. And instead of texting somebody, pick up the phone and call 3 people. My phone, I've gotten more phone messages, and the reason they're messages because I was working and I don't take my phone to bed, is people saying, hey, I'm calling to say hello and check in, and I love you. It changes the game. It's about picking up the phone, asking questions. And one thing too is that we all have to realize how lucky we are to be in the world that we live in right now, because we have, as we are still dealing with bullying, anti-Semitism, I want to say Black Lives Matter, sexual identity, the Asian culture is going through hell right now. There are so many places that we can all go to, be it via on phone or be it online, so we're not alone. So we can say, hey, you know what? I need help. I'm questioning who I am sexually, emotionally, mentally. I need someone. So we have freetolove.org. We have Trevor Chat. We have all these places where someone is saying, I am here. Addiction is on the rise.
Definitely.
Reach out to me. I'm sober, almost 16 years. My hand is out to you. You know what I'm saying? So how lucky that we have all these venues and these platforms and these places to reach out for then someone to pick up the phone and call you back. And I was like, quick story, I went to take my car in today and I asked my girl, Patty, I said, how are you? And she said, I'm good. And I said, how are you? She started crying. Her husband passed away in April. I got the gift of her sharing with me about her husband from a brain aneurysm. But she shared with me who he was to her, because I asked, no, how are you?
Right. It wasn't just something that you just say.
No, it wasn't, when is my car done? It's, how are you? And if we all take that extra moment, the girl at Starbucks today, how are you?
Yeah.
Hey, people, and I just got to say, when you go to Starbucks, put your flipping phone down, talk to the barista that put their ass on the line for you and your venti cold frappuccino and that muffin. For years, we're fighting for our lives. This woman in front of me ignored her and didn't say thank you. Put down your flipping phone and just have a moment of grace.
Right.
I'm done. As I said earlier, I'm part of some really exciting soap stuff, and that's where I can leave that. The guy that plays Travis in 86 Melrose Avenue created this amazing series called Mystery Incorporated based on Scooby-Doo. I've been invited in to play Shaggy's father, so I'm excited about that. I just wrapped a great movie, which continues in 2 days. It's called Eat Your Heart Out for Netflix. It's a love story. It's a rom-com.
Congratulations.
And, yeah, I have some really great, exciting things coming up, and I'm super excited. And I get to play with some really amazing people. And I got married, and things are good.
You have a lot going on. So many successful things. Congratulations.
And I got married. Things are good.